So hello there, my name's Jefferson Chase. I've translated about more than 40 books from German into English. Most of them are about the Third Reich and the Nazi era, but I'm happy today to be reading for you from something that is about something completely different. It's Martin Krauss's Taking Part Would Mean Everything, A New History of Sports, How Athletes Have Fought Against Marginalization. So without any further ado, here we go. Carlo Airoldi didn't win the first Olympic marathon in Athens in 1896 because he wasn't allowed to. The Italian was one of the greatest long-distance runners and walkers of his day, but the organizers of the event in the Greek capital banned him for being a professional athlete. Airoldi's sport was called pedestrianism, a mixture of running and walking quite popular at the time. The first ever competitive marathon in modern history was a very attractive prospect to a professional pedestrianist, as Airoldi immediately realized. Born in 1869 to a family of small farmers in the Lombardian village of Origlio, he ran his first race at the age of 22. He also appeared as a wrestler and weightlifter at village festivals. The more success he had in his athletic pursuits, the more he could afford to neglect his job in a chocolate factory. In 1895, after winning the 12-stage Turin-Milan-Barcelona race, he received a prize said to be worth around 100,000 euros in today's terms. Sponsored by the Italian newspaper La Bicicletta, Airoldi traveled on foot from Milan to Athens for the 1896 Olympic Games, covering 1,338 kilometers in just 28 days. When he arrived in the Greek capital in early April of that year, he was received with the enthusiasm and respect befitting a top athlete. Two members of the Olympic Organizing Committee even took him to meet the body's president, Crown Prince Constantine. The prince asked him about his achievements and whether he'd been paid for them. Airoldi answered truthfully, whereupon Constantine informed him that this made him a professional and that he would thus be prohibited from taking part in the games. Perhaps Constantine was put off by Airoldi's great popularity and self-confidence. The previous year, in 1895, he had challenged the American show cowboy, William Friedrich Buffalo Bill Cody, to a race. Cody was touring Italy at the time with his Western circus, and Airoldi proposed a 500-kilometer race, with him on foot and Cody on horseback. The American refused the challenge, insisting that to make things fair, he should be allowed to use 2 horses. Only 17 runners assembled on that sunny afternoon of April 10, 1896 at 2 p.m. in the village of Marathon, a mere 4 of them from outside Greece. After setting off in front of hundreds of spectators, the competitors ran on unpaved streets and paths along the coast. Spiridon Lewis was the first participant to reach the Olympic Stadium. He did so in the middle of the pole vault competition, which was then temporarily suspended. Crown Prince Constantine and King George personally ran over to Lewis and accompanied him over the race's final meters. It's said that when Queen Olga learned that Lewis was but a humble laborer, she took the rings from her fingers and gave them to him. Born in 1873 in the small town of Marousi near Athens, Lewis was in fact a day laborer who worked with his father transporting kegs of water from local springs to the Greek capital. He was handsomely rewarded for his victory. In addition to the victor's trophy, the king is said to have given him a horse and carriage so that he could more easily transport water. He also received the equivalent of 75,000 euros in today's terms. But life wouldn't ultimately prove all that easy for the Olympic hero. In 1926, Lewis was imprisoned for forgery, although he was later found innocent of that crime. In 1936, he also made a dubious appearance at the Olympic Games in Berlin as a guest of honor of the Nazi regime. Wearing national garb, he presented Hitler with an Olympic laurel wreath. He died at the age of 67 in 1940. Airoldi quickly realized that nationalist scheming had played a role in his being banned from competing in Athens. They want the victor of the marathon Athens race to be a Greek, whatever the cost, he fumed, claiming that he had only been excluded, quote, because they feared I would be too strong a competitor, unquote. The fact that he had not been allowed to run the first Olympic marathon was the biggest disappointment of his life. In the aftermath, Airoldi repeatedly challenged Spiridon Lewis to a race, but in vain. Wherever anyone would listen, he claimed that he would comfortably have beaten the Greek, who had needed 2 hours, 58 minutes, and 20 seconds for the 40-kilometer marathon route. Airoldi successfully continued his athletic career, but he never landed another big sensation, either in Europe or in Brazil, where he sought to make his fortune for a time. He died in 1929 in Milan. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.